Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dhanvat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hari Bol to Ramchandra Prabhu, Vishwanath Prabhu, and Aarti Mataji for leading the chanting this morning. Hari Hari. Okay, let's continue with our Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay. So we'll continue with our prayer. Raminakshi Mohini is here. She would like to sing the bhajan that we are singing, glorifying Shri Shikshashtakam, verse number 3, on the most important virtue of humility of a Vaishnava. You want to sing this?
Hare Krishna. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of Lord constantly. Shri Krishna Sankirtane Jadimanastora Parama Jatane Tahi Labho Adhikara Trinadhika Hina Dina Akinchana Shara Apane Mano Bhi Sada Chadi Ahankara Vriksha Samakshama Guna Karo Bhi Sadhana Prati Himsa Tyaji Anye Karo Bhi Palana Jivana Niravahe Ani Udvegana Dibe Parama Upakare Nija Sukha Parari Pasaribe Hoile O Sarva Gune Guni Mahashoye Pratishtita Sachari Karo Amani Hridoye Krishna Adhisthana Sarva Jive Jani Sada Karo Bhi Samana Save Adhare Sarvada Denya Doya Anye Mana Pratasthita Varjana Chari Gune Guni Hoye Karoha Kirtana Bhagati Vinoda Kandi Bhagati Vinoda Kandi Bole Prabhu Paye Heno Adhikara Kabe Dibe Heyamaye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahasaya ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Anybody else would like to read translation? Yesterday Nalin Prabhu read it. Anybody else would like to try today? If not, then I can continue. Okay. If your mind is always absorbed in chanting the glories of Lord Krishna with great care, then by that process of Shri Krishna Sankirtan, you will attain transcendental qualification. You should give up all false pride and always consider yourself to be worthless, destitute, lower and more humble than a blade of grass. You should practice forgiveness like that of a tree and giving up violence toward other living entities, living other beings. You should protect and maintain them. In the course of passing your life, you should never give anxiety to others, but rather do good to them while forgetting about your own happiness. When one has thus become a great soul, possessing all good qualities, one should abandon all desires for fame and honor and make one's heart humble. Knowing that Lord Krishna resides within all living creatures, one should with great respect consistently show honor to all beings. By possessing these four qualities of humility, mercifulness, respect towards others, and the renunciation of desires for prestige, one becomes virtuous. In such a state, you may sing the glories of the Supreme Lord. Weeping, Srila Bhaktivinoda submits his prayers at the lotus feet of the Lord. O Lord, when will you give me the qualification for possessing attributes such as these? Hare Krishna. Yes, so this prayer, as we said, teaches us all these are virtues, and the virtues of humility, mercifulness, respect towards others, and renunciation of desire for prestige for ourselves. And that is what we were reading yesterday as well, coincidentally, from teachings of Lord Kapila Dev, as Kapila Dev and Srila Prabhupada were teaching us that the process of bhakti is the ultimate process. It's even beyond liberation. Bhakti as the ultimate liberation, as the chapter is. And this particular verse that we were reading yesterday was teaching us that through bhakti yoga, we can actually dissolve not just our material body, but even our subtle body, right? And then we can actually get reinstated in our original position as the eternal constituent part and parcel of the Lord, eternally situated to serve the Lord, right? So the whole idea is to reawaken our original Krishna consciousness, and that is the inherent nature of the soul as such is Ananda. And right now we are covered through this Sthul and Sukshma Sharir, the gross and the subtle body. And as Kapil Dev was teaching us, that this process of bhakti even dissolves the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence and false ego, which is the most difficult to overcome. And this prayer on the process of humility, on the virtues of humility, and giving respect to everybody else around us, and not expecting any return, any prestige in return for our false pride, for our false ego, which only inflates our false ego, right? So this prayer rightly teaches us that, exactly as what we were reading yesterday. So let's continue today from here. We just updated this yesterday, so let's continue from here. Anybody else would like to read today? We're almost on the end of chapter 14. Okay, I'll continue then. So in all conditions, the pure devotee is liberated. He may engage in some occupation or business, but he is always thinking of how to serve Krishna, and in this way, he is automatically liberated. It is not that he thinks of becoming one with the Supreme and attaining liberation. Rather, his liberation lies in his personal relationship with the Supreme Lord himself. Chapter 15. Meditation on the Lord's Transcendental Form. Text 34. Naikatmatam me sprihayanti kechin matpada seva virata mad iha yin yonyato bhagavata prasajya sabhajayante mama paurushani. A pure devotee who is attached to the activities of devotional service and who always engages in the service of my lotus feet never desires to become one with me. Such a devotee who is unflinchingly engaged always glorifies my pastimes and activities. There are 5 kinds of liberation stated in the scriptures. One is to become one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or to forsake one's individuality and merge into the Supreme Spirit. This is called ekatmatam. A devotee never accepts this kind of liberation. The other 4 liberations are to be promoted to the same planet as God, Vaikuntha, to associate personally with the Supreme Lord, to achieve the same opulence as the Lord, and to attain his same bodily features. A pure devotee, as Kapila Muni will explain, does not aspire for any of these liberations. He especially despises the attempt to become one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, said, Kaivalyam Narakayate, the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme Lord, which is the aspiration of the Mayavadis, is considered hellish. That oneness is not for pure devotees. There are many so-called devotees who think that in the conditioned state we may worship the personality of Godhead, but that ultimately there is no personality. They say that since the Absolute Truth is impersonal, one can imagine a personal form of the impersonal Absolute Truth for the time being. But as soon as one becomes liberated, the worship stops. That is the theory put forward by Mayavad philosophy. Actually, the impersonalists do not merge into the existence of the Supreme Person, but into his personal bodily luster, which is called Brahmajyotir. Although that Brahmajyotir is not different from his personal body, that sort of oneness, merging into the bodily luster of the personality of Godhead, is not accepted by a pure devotee, because the devotees engage in greater pleasure than merging into his existence. The greatest pleasure is to serve the Lord. Devotees are always thinking about how to serve him. They are always designing ways and means to serve the Supreme Lord, even in the midst of the greatest material obstacles. Mayavadis accept the description of the pastimes of the Lord as myths, but actually they are not. They are historical facts. Pure devotees accept the narrations of the pastimes of the Lord as the absolute truth. The words Mama Parushani, my glorious activities, are significant. Devotees are very much attached to glorifying the activities of the Lord, whereas Mayavadis cannot even think of these activities. According to them, the absolute truth is impersonal, but without personal existence, how can there be activity? Because impersonalists take the activities mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and other Vedic literatures as fictitious stories. They interpret them most mischievously. They have no idea of the personality of Godhead. They unnecessarily poke their noses into the scriptures and interpret it in a deceptive way in order to mislead the innocent public. The activities of Mayavad philosophy are very dangerous to the public, and therefore Lord Chaitanya warned his disciples never to hear from any Mayavadi about any scripture. Mayavadis will spoil the entire process, and the person hearing them will never be able to come to the path of devotional service to attain the highest perfection. He only may be able to do so after a very, very long time. It is clearly stated by Kapila Muni that bhakti activities are transcendental to mukti. This is called Panchama Purushartha. Generally, people engage in the activities of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and ultimately they work with an idea that they are going to become one with the Supreme Lord, Mukti. But bhakti is transcendental to all these activities. The Srimad Bhagavatam therefore begins by stating that all kinds of pretentious religiosity is completely eradicated from the Bhagavatam. Ritualistic activities for economic development and sense gratification, and after frustration in sense gratification, the desire to become one with the Supreme Lord, are all completely rejected in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is especially meant for the pure devotees who always engage in Krishna consciousness, in the activities of the Lord, and always glorify these transcendental activities. Pure devotees worship the transcendental activities of the Lord in Vrindavan, Dwarka, and Mathura, as they are narrated in the Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas. The Mayavadi philosophers completely reject them as myths, but actually they are great and worshipable subjects, and thus are relishable only for the devotees. That is the difference between a Mayavadi and a pure devotee as they view scripture. Actually, Vedic scripture is Krishna Katha, topics about Krishna, and Krishna Katha is not a subject matter for a debate club. It is meant for the devotees. Non-devotees simply waste their time reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have often mentioned that so-called scholars, politicians, and philosophers simply give misleading commentaries when they try to interpret Bhagavad Gita. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that they are like people trying to lick at a bottle of honey that is sealed and closed. If one does not know how to taste honey, one begins licking at the bottle. But for one to actually taste the honey, the bottle must be opened, and the key to its opening is the devotee. Therefore it is said, Sata prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajjoshanad ashvapavargavartmani Shraddha-ratir-bhaktir-anukramishyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.25. God is eternal, and his instructions and followers are also eternal. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.1, Krishna tells Arjuna that millions of years ago he spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the Sun God. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjuna 5,000 years ago, and if we read it today, we will still find that it is fresh. Bhagavad Gita and Krishna are never old. Although Krishna is the most ancient one, the oldest of all, he always remains like a young boy in his teens. He never appears older than 20. Krishna's words are absolute, as well as his form, qualities and activities. They are always fresh and new. If they are not, how could the devotees glorify them day after day with greater enthusiasm? The more one glorifies Krishna, the more enthusiastic one becomes in glorifying, and glorifying. This is the meaning of spiritual. In the material world, if you repeat something once, twice, thrice or 4 times, it finally becomes hackneyed and disgusting. However, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra can be chanted 24 hours daily, and one will still feel fresh and enthusiastic. It is not a material sound like the sounds we hear on the radio. It is a spiritual sound that comes from the spiritual world. Even in the material world, we can release a sound from one place and it can be heard thousands of miles away. A spiritual sound can be released from many trillions of miles away and it can be heard provided that one has the machine to capture it. That machine is Bhagavad Prema. Those who have developed love of Godhead can hear it. Arjuna was neither a Vedantist nor a sannyasi, nor was he particularly advanced in spiritual understanding. However, he heard Bhagavad Gita because he was a bhakta. Atheistic scholars and politicians cannot understand the transcendental vibration. They can only lick at the honey bottle. Fools and rascals eat and drink everything without restriction, thinking that they are doing so in the name of religion. There are many so-called swamis and yogis who tell their disciples that they can do anything and still advance spiritually. But this is not possible. One has to become a pure Brahmana, control the mind and senses, and discuss the Supreme Personality of Godhead among sadhus. This may sound very difficult, but one can become a sat, a saintly person, within a second. If one is eager, one can immediately surrender to Krishna. When one approaches Krishna, one should say, "My dear Krishna, I have forgotten you. Now I am fully surrendered unto you. You may kill me as you like, or if you like, you can give me protection." When Prahlad was asked by the Supreme Lord what benediction he desired, Prahlad Maharaj replied, "My dear Lord, why should I ask for some benediction simply because I have suffered for you? You are supremely powerful, and whatever I get from you. I was born into a family of demons and was inclined toward material enjoyment. I have seen my powerful father, who was feared even by the demigods, annihilated within a second. Why should I ask for anything? Please engage me in the service of your servant. This is all I want. I do not want anything else." In this way, a devotee never asks for anything material from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotees are simply satisfied in glorifying the Lord. This is the way of Bhakti Yoga. Krishna descends to please his devotees and destroy the demons. From the very beginning of Krishna's birth, demons were present. Kamsa advised his constables, "As soon as Krishna is born, tell me. I shall immediately kill him." He was always thinking of Krishna in this way, negatively. Similarly, we will find so many so-called religionists whose only purpose is to kill Krishna. Somehow or other, they try to take Krishna out of Bhagavad Gita. They will comment on the Bhagavad Gita, but in their commentaries, there will never be any mention of Krishna. They will never say that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that he should be worshipped. This means that they are asuras, demons, although they may present themselves as big scholars. Somehow or others, they try to evade Krishna Bhakti, and their entire propaganda is aimed toward this. Text 35. Pashyanti te me ruchiranyam vasantah prasanna vaktrarunalochanani rupani divyani vara pradani sakam vacham sprihanyam vadanti. O my Lord, O my Mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form. With eyes like the rising morning sun, they like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. Mayavadis and atheists accept the forms of deities in the temple of the Lord as idols, but devotees do not worship idols. They directly worship the personality of Godhead in His Archa incarnation. Archa refers to the form we can worship in our present condition. Actually, in our present state, it is not possible to see God in a spiritual form because our material eyes and senses cannot conceive of a spiritual form. We cannot even see the spiritual form of the individual soul. When a man dies, we cannot see how the spiritual form leaves the body. That is the defect of our material senses. In order to be seen by our material senses, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts a favorable form which is called the Archa Vigraha. This Archa Vigraha, sometimes called the Archa incarnation, is not different from Him. Just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts various incarnations, He takes on forms made out of matter, clay, wood, metal, jewels, etc. There are many Shastric injunctions which give instructions for carving forms of the Lord. These forms are not material. If God is all-pervading, He is also in the material elements. There is no doubt about it. But the atheists think otherwise. Although they preach that everything is God, when they go to the temple and see the form of the Lord, they deny that He is God. According to their own theory, everything is God. Then why is the deity not God? Actually, they have no conception of God. The devotee's vision, however, is different. Their vision is smeared with the love of God. As soon as they see the Lord in His different forms, the devotees become saturated with love, for they do not find any difference between the Lord and His form in the temple, as do the atheists. The smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as transcendental and spiritual, and the decorations on the body of the Lord are very much appreciated by the devotees. It is the duty of the spiritual master to teach his devotees how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, and how to worship the deity. There are different procedures, rules, and regulations followed in the temples of Vishnu, and devotees go there and see the deity, the Vigraha, and spiritually enjoy the form, because all of the deities are benevolent. The devotees express their minds before the deity, and in many instances the deity also gives answers. But one must be very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. These exchanges between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Clearly, those who have eyes to see Krishna will see Him. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the temple of Jagannath, he immediately fainted upon seeing the deity. He said, "Oh, here is my Lord, here is my Lord." In order to see, one has to become Santa, and one becomes Santa by culture. When we develop love of Krishna, we will immediately see Krishna and faint, saying, "Oh, here is my Lord." However, those with no faith, those who are always trying to deny Krishna, will simply say, "Oh, this is an idol, this is simply a piece of stone." We must be eager to see Krishna and talk with Him. He is actually waiting to see whether we are interested in talking with Him. In Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Shri Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. If we want to talk to some important person, we must have some qualification. It is not that we can immediately talk to presidents or even to senators just because we want to talk to them. Somehow or other, we must comply with certain rules and regulations. Krishna is ready to talk to us, and for this purpose, He has descended in the Archa Murti, the deity, in order to be seen. We simply have to qualify ourselves to talk with Him. The non-devotees, Mayavadis, who are interested in denying Krishna say that God has no eyes, no legs, no hands, no ears, and so on. This is indirectly saying that God is blind and deaf and that He cannot do this or that. In this way, they are indirectly insulting God. This is blasphemy. God does not want to hear such nonsense. Therefore, it is said in this verse, Sakam Vacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti. By saying that Krishna is blind, that He has no eyes, no hands, no nothing, we are indirectly saying that Krishna does not exist. This is certainly not a favorable way to talk about Krishna. If we want to talk about Krishna, we must consult the Vedic literatures. Then we can understand how Krishna should be worshipped. In the Brahma Samhita 5.29, it is stated, Shri Krishna is playing on his flute, and his eyes are as beautiful as the petals of a lotus flower. He wears a peacock feather in his hair, and his form is very beautiful. The Mayavadis say, just imagine some form of God. But God's form cannot be imagined. God's form is not imaginary, but factual. This factual information we receive from the Vedas. When Krishna was present on this earth, he exhibited his form and activities. All of these are divine, not material. Krishna's body is Satchid Ananda Vigraha. It has nothing to do with anything material. He descends as a favor to his devotees, who are always anxious to see him. His first business is to give pleasure to his devotees, and his second business is to kill the demons, who are always giving the devotees trouble. It is the nature of the demons to give devotees trouble. Just as in the West, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified because he was preaching God consciousness. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu tried to kill his 5-year-old boy Prahlad Maharaj because his son was talking about Krishna. There were many demons who tried to kill Krishna himself. Great demons like Putana, Agasura and Kamsa. Nonetheless, Krishna destroys them all by his omnipotence. Actually, everyone in the material world is more or less an asura, an atheist. If one preaches, one has to learn to tolerate the asuras and speak in such a way that they can also become devotees. We should always speak of Krishna in a pleasing way. Then we will be benefited. Another name for Krishna is Uttama Shloka, which indicates that he is worshipped by the best selected words. It is not that we should use any words we choose. There are many prayers in the Vedic scriptures and also in the Bible and Quran. Although the Christians and Mohammedans do not worship the deity, they offer prayers to the Lord, and that is also bhakti. Archanam, Vandanam. There are 9 different processes for worshipping the Lord, and one may accept one or all of them. We should use very selected words and surrender unto Krishna. But we should not say things which do not please him. We should not claim that God is formless and that he has no eyes, no head, or whatever. Actually, it is stated in the Vedas that Krishna has no hand, but that he can accept our offering. This means that he has no material hand. If he actually has no hand, how can he extend his hand millions of miles to accept an offering? Golok Vrindavan is many trillions and trillions of miles away, but Krishna can accept whatever we offer. When the Vedas say that God has no hands, it is meant that he has no material hands. His hands are Satchit Ananda Vigraha. If we can understand Krishna's activities, form, qualities and pastimes in this way, we become fit to return home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Yes, so that is our ultimate goal, to return home, back to Godhead. And how nicely Prabhupada is explaining here that we can learn all this from our scriptures by following, by attentively hearing from a spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada is all of our eternal Shiksha Guru. He is our foremost eternal Shiksha Guru, and just by hearing from him, we can understand this, the message of the Lord as it is, and that will help us to develop our pure love of Godhead in our hearts by removing all the impurities, just by hearing, by worshipping, by archanam, vandanam, by offering worship and prayers through selected words as given by our acharyas. That is the way to worship the Lord, that is the way to glorify the Lord and to pray to the Lord. So that is the role of a spiritual master. Today happens to be the Tirobhav Divas of Tirobhav Tithi of our dear spiritual master, my and Meenakshi Mohini's spiritual master, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj's Tirobhav Tithi happens on the day after Varutini Ekadashi. So today is the day Guru Maharaj left from this mortal world, but he gave all the love, all the blessings that we can carry on this mission of Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sincerely. So it's only by his blessings and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and of course all the mercy of all the devotees, all the Vaishnavas like yourselves on the call and around the world, who are an inspiration. It's only together that we can move forward, as Prabhupada said. When we all cooperate with each other, that pleases our Guru Parampara the most. So when we come together, we read these Vedic scriptures, we hear about the glories of the Lord together in the association of the devotees, that pleases our Guru Parampara. So we are very, very grateful today that we are able to continue this call by their mercy and by the love and togetherness of each other. Srila Prabhupada, as he was explaining these qualities of devotees, and how humility, as we are reading right now, humility is the core value, and process of hearing. These are all important virtues that I can directly correlate with Srila Gurudev, with His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. He, like we were saying, I was describing the other day, his first meeting with Srila Prabhupada was on June 1st, 1968, and his first service for Srila Prabhupada was that he was cleaning. He was when he went to the Montreal Temple in Canada, and he was told that Srila Prabhupada is going to visit the Montreal Temple on June 1st, 1968. So Guru Maharaj was there on May 30th, the last day of May. He came there, and then after being in the temple, doing the worship and all, finally he asked if he could serve, if he could do any service. And the first service that he was given was to clean the apartment of Srila Prabhupada. So that was his first service. So he cleaned everything very nicely, the doors, windows, everything. And then after that, when Prabhupada was there for 2 weeks, every day Guru Maharaj would visit the temple. Every day he would offer obeisances. Every day he would listen to the katha, through the end. So that was the virtue of hearing and humility. So hearing, as we say, the Shravanam is the first step, as Prahlad Maharaj says today also. Prabhupada is talking about that Shravanam. And just as Srila Prabhupada also used to do, right? And like Bhaktisiddhanta had remarked that Srila Prabhupada, when he used to go, sometimes Prabhupada would say later, right, that I would not even be able to understand, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's level of speech and level of understanding was so exalted that sometimes it would just bounce over Srila Prabhupada's head. But still Prabhupada would sit and listen attentively, no matter if he understood or not, right? And at that time Bhaktisiddhanta remarked that, I have marked this boy, he likes to hear attentively. So one day he will preach enthusiastically. So similarly, in the same mood, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he would go to the Montreal Temple every day, while other Indians or others who would come there, they would just bow down and they would leave after a few minutes. He would sit attentively and listen till the end. And he says that was the only qualification I had, that he developed such intense respect and surrendered towards Srila Prabhupada in those 2 weeks, that at the end of those 2 weeks he knew that Srila Prabhupada was a spiritual master and he wanted to surrender to him. He was already spiritually inclined. He was visiting like Gurudwaras and other places of worship, but as soon as he met Srila Prabhupada, he knew that this was his spiritual master. So that is the virtues of humility and attentive hearing, and both of those is something that we are trying to learn and take inspiration from Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So I just wanted to glorify him a little bit today. That whatever service I'm able to do today, also this service of reading is also something that I've directly taken from him in my last interaction with Srila Gurudev in the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. Like 2 things that really stood out to me throughout my interactions with Guru Maharaj was his morning sadhana. Like we're talking about the Archa Vigraha, and his service was exemplary, right? Many devotees I've spoken to and have told me, even my last interaction with Amarendra Prabhu in Columbus, one thing that he said, growing up, he was watching Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj come to Bombay, and he would say that no matter what happens, someday the sun may not rise, but there was not a day when Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj was not in the temple altar doing the Mangala Arati. So worshipping the deities so reverentially, every single day after day after day, he would not miss the Mangala Arati unless it was really, really impossible for him to do because of his health. But otherwise, throughout his life, he was completely attached to the service of the Archa Vigraha, no matter which temple he was in, all around the world. And that's why we have the deities, the temple darshan of all the deities around the Radha Parthasati temple in Vrindavan. So, and after doing the Mangala Arati in the altar, in the temple, Guru Maharaj would come back up to his own deities, and then he would perform the service of, bathing and worshipping all the deities that he had. So many Shaligram Shilas he had. I remember that interaction when he got Srila Prabhupada's Vigraha, Srila Prabhupada's Murti. And he had that sweet exchange with His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, and he was so beaming with joy, and he told Giriraj Swami Maharaj, I got Prabhupada. Prabhupada came back to me. And the Giriraj Maharaj was so smiling, and he said, yes, Srila Prabhupada loves you so much that he has come. So, but yeah, the quality of worshipping the deities as we are reading today, that is something that stands out to me from Guru Maharaj's personal exemplary behavior that he taught all of his disciples and everybody in ISKCON. Many of the Guru Maharaj was always like, he was always more merciful to not his disciples but disciples of other Guru Maharajas, like Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, Giriraj Swami Maharaj, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, all the disciples. We hear so many of those from when Anantadip Prabhu was here, when Radheshyam Prabhu was here. Right? So, yeah, he has left an indelible mark in the hearts of all the Vaishnavas around the community. So, Archa Vigraha Seva and reading, like I said, personally, when I was in Krishna Balram temple with Guru Maharaj, my last interaction with him, that was my takeaway point at that point, that like after coming back from the main altar doing the deity worship, then he comes back, he does his deity worship in the altar in his room in Krishna Balram temple. And that time I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam for him in the background. So I personally learned that is what I need to do. That is like my seva, to read these books. And after reading that, when Guru Maharaj is done with his deity seva, he sits on the chair, and then he was almost 80 years of age at that time, so he was very, very weak in his physical health, and his voice was completely very low and hardly able to speak. So he had to take that medication, the inhaler he had to put on his nose and take that medication. And while he was doing that, he asked me to give books to him, to give Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and he was reading one other book by Lokanath Swami Maharaj for the Parikrama. So all these books he had in front of him, and he was attentively reading them while his medication was going on. And I was just sitting there, at his lotus feet, just looking at him, admiring, like, at the age of 80 years, when he knows everything by heart, like, he had such a sharp memory, one of the sharpest memories. If you met him 20 years ago, he will remember what happened 20 years ago. The conversation that he had with you 20 years ago, he remembers exactly where he left off, and he would start from there. So having that kind of a memory, he had everything in his brain at the age of 80, but still he asks me to give him the books and reading, as if he was directly telling me that this is what we need to do, right? Read Srila Prabhupada's books every day, no matter what journey, at what point we are in our life. So anyway, that was kind of a take-home instruction for me, even though he didn't verbally say that, but he said that through his behavior, through his instruction. So yeah, I just wanted to share that and thank Srila Gurudev, thank Srila Prabhupada, thank all our acharyas who have given us this beautiful path of bhakti in this most important human form of life that we have received. It is our should be our endeavor, sincere endeavor, to please our Guru Varga, please Srila Prabhupada, by following their instructions sincerely. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Anybody else would like to share anything from today's reading? Any thoughts, reflections? How we are continuing to remember Shri Krishna throughout the day?
Hare
Krishna, Anandini Gopika Mataji, yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Your voice is very feeble, Mataji. Sorry, could you speak a little up?
Me now?
Yes, it is better now, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I was just saying, thank you for sharing some pastime of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. They were very helpful, the reading instruction. And thank you, to Maharaj for giving us disciples like you and Meenakshi Mohini, who inspire us every day, first thing in the morning. So really grateful to Maharaj and his glorious disciples like yourself. Thank you.
Glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Thank you, Mataji. It's all, you're just trying to become a speck of the dust of his lotus feet. That's all. Thank you for all of you being there. We are all one family of Srila Prabhupada, and that is what pleases Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj the most, when we all come together as one family of Srila Prabhupada, one family of ISKCON. That was his mood always. He never wanted us to have our own, little groups, but everybody contributing to this movement of Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, thank you once again. Okay. Let's continue to do our remembrance of the Lord throughout the day, as we are doing this week. We are doing Parusham Rishu, as the ability in man, so ability in all of us. So let's continue to remember Shri Krishna throughout the day, as we see anything glorious around us or within us, as we continue to do our daily sadhana or our daily work or anything that we are doing. Hopefully that will help us continue to increase our remembrance and continue to take us back home, back to Godhead, as we are trying to do here at the end of today's reading. Okay, thank you so much. We'll conclude here for today. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Jagat Gopad ki jai, teachings of Lord Kapila Dev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.